From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, this is a Headache Soul production. Welcome to Just the Tip-Sters, America's favorite true crime podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Morgan. With me today is my beautiful and talented co-host, birthday boy Bevan.
Hey, thank you. Oh my gosh.
Also known as Joshua.
I love it. I walk in and there's banners.
Yeah.
My chair's
A chair
like
cover,
a full-on birthday
a little
throne.
birthday cake. There's surprises in the kitchen too you don't know about.
Sweet.
Yeah.
This is excellent.
Perhaps
Thank you.
I got you a balloon, and perhaps I selfishly got you a balloon with a unicorn on it because that's what I wanted.
Aw,
so,
thank you.
Yeah, it's waiting for you in the kitchen.
Thank you.
Yes, it is Joshua's 25th birthday,
Something like
that. Yeah, youngster, such a child, such a young person. Alrighty, so I wanted to say thank you to Tipster Angela for her review on Apple Podcasts. She said I am her spirit animal, which is alternately incredibly kind, and also I feel very bad for her. She needs to raise the bar. She needs a very different spirit animal, one that's worthy of her love.
Come on now.
Yeah. So it's another case of Angela being a magnificent human and being at about episode 198 and not knowing yet that Mark's not with us anymore.
Oh, wow.
So she mentions that Mark and I spoke to each other the way that she and her husband speak to each other. So when she finds out, she'll find out. And I am always heartbroken when people haven't gotten to that part. It's part of the thing about having a podcast for many years is that things happen and sometimes people don't know yet.
Yeah.
So, but she's been a faithful and amazing human being to have made it to episode 198. So that's pretty awesome. I got a beautiful email from Tipster T. She lives in Ireland, and I'm trying hard to respond to her, but it's been very difficult because it is one of the more beautiful emails I've ever received. I made Joshua read it too, and I will find a way to respond to you, T. I will explain your email later when hopefully I won't be so apt to cry, and let you know that I do want to let you know it arrived on the perfect day, and that perfect day was last Saturday when I had to go to a memorial for Mark's uncle, who passed away about 6 weeks ago. And it wasn't really a memorial. It was more like just a get together and he and his wife's backyard. And Mark's family was there from Northern California. And it was the first time I had seen them since Mark's celebration of life. So it was a difficult, uncomfortable day, and your email was so magnificent. Just reiterating what an amazing creature my husband was. So,
Yeah, wow.
So T is aware that sometimes we read people's emails or reviews, and she said it would be okay. And at some point we will read part of her email because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I probably won't read it, but Joshua will for me.
Absolutely. And it was beautiful.
Yeah, it is really beautiful. And I will be answering you back when I can find the words you deserve, because your email was so incredibly powerful and important and the perfect timing, whether you knew it or not. I wanted to say thank you to Tipster Jennifer, who is our newest patron on Patreon.
All right. Welcome.
And Jennifer is the sister of Kenny Williams, who was known for so long, 42 years, as the Long Beach John Doe. And we had covered his case in episode 153. So the fact that Jennifer is supporting this podcast means more than I can express.
Right on.
She had done a beautiful thing before the announcement was made that Othram Labs had helped to identify Kenny's remains and give him his name back. She had sent me a picture of she and Kenny when they were kids. I think she was about 3 and he was about 12. And it's a beautiful black and white picture. And she said, I wanted to send this to you, and you're the first person outside the family that's ever seen it. And that just meant the world to me.
Wow.
Yeah. And Jennifer is such a fascinating girl. She actually went into the field of forensic sciences, I think, because her brother was missing for so long. She works at a teaching hospital, and she's an amazing girl. So,
Amazing.
yeah, this episode is brought to us by our friends at Graveline, graveline.rip, and they have wonderful tours. I have several friends from other parts of the country that are excited now. I have 2 friends who messaged me this week and said, when I come to visit you, we're going on the Graveline tours. And I was like, yes, we are, Suzanne.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Sweet.
Yeah. And I'm very excited about even having people come and visit, but I'm just really excited about going on our next tour. I know Joshua and I will go on one soon, hopefully. We were supposed to go somewhere during his birth month, but he's very, very busy. He's very busy. But at some point, I'm going to nail him down and we will go on another Graveline tour.
Let's please.
If you would like to go on a tour, if you're in Southern California, please visit graveline.rip. And in the code area, you can put Tipster 40 and you get 40% off of any tour that you choose from Graveline. So I think part of what Joshua is so busy with is he will, I called him this week and I didn't hear him hiccuping, but he said he was hiccuping. And I said, why? And he said, because of TikTok. And I'm like, I don't even want to know what the fuck that means. So I'm just going to call him the king of hick-top. Hick-talk. Yeah, hick-talk. Yeah. What the fuck? Why is TikTok making you hiccup, Joshua? Is there any explanation?
No, it's those recipe things. It's the TikTok food trends.
Was one of them how to make yourself hiccup?
No, it was a dumb. Oh, God.
Was it something you made that made you hiccup?
Yeah, it was
like made of 7-Up.
It was supposed to be a cookie with like overripe banana, like banana bread type banana.
All right.
Like super ripe banana.
Sounds delicious.
And
super ripe banana is your stripper name, right?
danced under that name for a little while.
I have seen you perform under that name. You have a cape and everything. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Ignore the brown spots, ladies. It's not cancer.
Oh, God.
Sorry. I can't help myself.
Yeah, and then oatmeal. So it was supposed to be like this banana oatmeal cookie.
Oh, that actually sounds really good.
It sounded great. And the guy who made it like took a bite and set like his face made it look great. Right. It was not great.
Oh.
When I made it, it was disgusting.
And it made you hiccup?
Well, and then it was like dry and like
the oatmeal part.
Yeah, it sucked all the moisture out or whatever. And I ate the cookie and then got the hiccups trying to get it down or
What'd
whatever.
You do with the rest of them? Like make them like doorstops or paperweights or?
I tossed the rest of the first batch, but I had 2 bananas. So then I tried again.
I tried that about you. Turnabout's fair play, motherfucker. Ladies, take note. Joshua has 2 bananas. No waiting.
Oh, boy. Okay, yeah.
All right. So you had your second banana. What happened then?
No, I tried to improve the bat. Like I've tried to make it better and,
okay,
and no, it wasn't much better. It was edible the second time, but
barely.
Yeah. And no.
So I don't cook a lot. Joshua knows that. Joshua cooks a lot. He's very experimental. It's one of the things I admire about him. He'll try new recipes. I don't give a fuck about anything in the kitchen except for more Mountain Dew Kickstart. So many, 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 many years ago, I guess would have been the mid 90s, maybe, no, early 90s, whenever there was the slow speed chase with O.J. Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
It was June. It was a Friday.
My buddy Cato.
Yeah, and your good friend Cato. I was, it was your good friend Al Cowlings was driving.
Oh, right.
And he was in the back. OJ was in the back. So that Friday I was home early in the afternoon and I had a recipe trying to make healthy cookies. So instead of like, I don't know, sugar or milk or something, you used applesauce.
Okay.
They were repugnant. No, repugnant. Yeah. I called them my Ellie Mae Clampett cookies because on the Beverly Hillbillies, she made cookies and Jed was like, these will make really good doorstops. They were like doorstops and paperweights. These fucking cookies were fucking monsters. I'm like, use the goddamn real ingredients. Yeah. Don't try to make shit healthy. It's bullshit. I have so many beautiful, amazing, wonderful friends with digestive issues or who just want to eat healthier who like, they make a really good cashew cheese. No, they don't. They don't.
Just eat the cheese.
Eat the fucking cheese.
Yeah.
And if you can't, can't, I pity you, but don't.
Sure.
If one more person tells me they make really great gluten-free pizza crust, I'll punch them in the fucking twat.
No.
It's not a thing. It's not happening. No.
Eat pizza or don't.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
The fake things, come on.
I can't even anymore. And I understand people want to be healthy, but it's the people, sometimes it's the people that don't like have to for a medical reason that annoy me the most.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That are like, oh, you need to try this. No, I do not. I don't need cashew cheese. I like cashews, not made as cheese. I like cheese made of,
cheese made of cheese.
Dairy products. Yeah. Not nut cheese. Take your fucking nut cheese, which also you danced under that.
That name also, yeah.
That's between you and your doctor. I don't know what's
that was in Bakersfield,
right? That's where you should not leave Bakersfield with that name. I was thinking Bakersfield or Laughlin. Those are the only two places you could dance under the name nut cheese.
Oh God!
And actually get people to show up.
I've got actually a Laughlin story for later.
I bet you do. Oh, I can't wait. Hold on. I need to rub my hands together in glee. Cannot wait for the Laughlin story.
Oh boy.
All right. So today is Cinco de Mayo, but much more importantly, Joshua, do you know what day it is?
It's
National Hoagie Day.
Oh my gosh.
And we are going to Capriotti's after we record. We're going to lunch.
We're celebrating in style.
I have shoved Joshua into the love of Capriotti's. He's never been to one. He doesn't know about them. I promise this won't be a really long story, but it was very sweet. They had several different ones on the west side of LA. They had one in Beverly Hills, and I would stop at the one on Wilshire Boulevard. Not easy to park, but I would find a way to park and get sandwiches and take them to Mark's office in Santa Monica sometimes if I, got to go see him for lunch. And these sandwiches are delicious. I'm in love with their pastrami. I've been there when they've had food deliveries. It's real meat. There's nothing like pressed. Their, I guess, most popular sandwich is called the Bobby, which is named after the owner's mother, Bobby. And it is their Thanksgiving sandwich. It's got real sliced turkey. There's not turkey roll or pressed turkey. It's turkey off a motherfucking turkey.
Nice.
You see them cutting it off a turkey. So it's turkey, stuffing, gravy, cranberries, and mayonnaise.
Oh my gosh.
It's very good, except that I still love the pastrami better. But the Bobby is the number one sandwich. So anyway, I have enticed Joshua to go.
I'm so excited.
To Capriotti's. Yeah, we're just going to rush through this episode.
Right. What time do they open?
You've revealed yourself to be a monster. Yeah, I don't think they're open yet, but yeah, it's really delicious, and it's National Bucket Hoagie Day, which I didn't know except for Tipster Norma. So thank you, Tipster Norma posted it on Facebook, and she said, "I think it's a made up holiday that Joey from Friends invented," but I looked it up, and she is misinformed. It's an actual day.
Whether or not, I'm excited to celebrate.
Yeah, I know. Even if I'm making it up, you're down. Yeah.
I don't need to fact check you. I believe you.
F that. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about, brother. When it comes to sandwiches, I am down to
the
clown.
Duchess of Sandwich.
Yeah, it was the Earl. What's the wife of an Earl? Countess. I'm the Countess of Hoagies. You can call me whatever the fuck you want. Right. I like sandwiches. That's what we're going to call it.
That's perfect.
Yeah. It would be confusing if a count and an earl, their wives are both called countess.
Yeah.
You would know who they belong to because they're chattel, their property. The wives, I'm just saying.
Sure.
Yeah, you don't know if they belong to the count or the earl. What do you mean absolutely? Fuck you. Don't you fucking agree with me, goddamn misogynistic butthole. What's wrong with you? You do not agree with me ever. You only agree with me on the shitty things. You don't agree with me on the things that are like, wow, okay, you're going to lunch by yourself. You're having a sandwich all alone.
I'm going to end up at Subway.
You are. I'm dropping you off at Subway. This was actually given to me by, you're going to love this, by an amazing medium who, I don't think she had anything to do with this case. She just knew about it. And what's interesting is that the killer spent 2 years being depressed, wanting to live on the street, gave away all of his possessions because he said his victim's ghost spoke to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Interesting, I think. So the reason I was so taken with this case from my friend Allison is that she kept calling it a case that took place in Kentucky. And I was like, I don't know. I don't really know what you're talking about. But what happened was this woman, Barbara Howe, she lived in Monroe, Ohio, which is a little bit north of Cincinnati.
Okay.
So Barbara Howe.
So what happened?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We're done.
Oh.
See you next week. Barbara Howe lived in a apparently beautiful retirement community. I think it's called Mount Pleasant. Yeah, Mount Pleasant Retirement Community. Really nice where, individuals can have their own like cottage. You can go from, having no help to assisted living.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's like, yeah, it can be a progressive. Yeah. And she was 87 and still very vibrant and beautiful. This woman was beautiful. I can't find articles way back in her life. I'm wondering if she was like a pageant person because she's so beautiful. I mean, in her, later years, she's still so beautiful. And she comes from this, lovely family of beautiful girls. She had 3 daughters of her own, and you'll hear how her death sort of split the family apart. I'm going to tell you that having experienced Mark's father's passing in 2019, I was a little shocked because I always feel like it's the mom that keeps the families together. And when Mark's father died, it was very clear that his father was the linchpin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I guess it's different in every family.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. But Barbara's oldest daughter, says that she was what we all revolved around. And after she passed away, her and her sisters didn't, really stay in touch. It's a little bit heartbreaking. It's that ripple effect. When someone's killed, it isn't just, them. Although the perpetrator's brother says something similar, and I'm like, yeah. But he also says my brother is going to get what he deserves. So as I'm already giving you the ending, he gets caught. We know who did it. He's and the thing is, I want so hard to give him some sort of grace, like you sound remorseful and you're expressing contrition and you have no excuse. And he says, I don't know the why.
Wow.
Yeah. And what he did was so worse than most. I'm just going to say that.
My gosh. Okay.
So Barbara lives by herself. Her husband passed away. He was a big executive with GM, and they traveled the world. I guess he was very successful. And she lives in, this lovely retirement community in a little beautiful little cottage. Lives alone, is happy by herself. And one Sunday, I guess it was October 28th of 2012, she did not make it to church. Her lovely friend from church, Crawford Williams, comes over after church and gives her a church bulletin, and she makes them a meal of pork chops and gravy, and they spend the afternoon together. They watch football. They each read the newspaper. Sounds like a lot of fun dates where you do something together but separate.
Yep.
And then he left at about 4:30, and there's a picture of him on the stand. And he is clarifying that when he left at 4:30 p.m. on Sunday the 28th, he heard Barbara's lock engage.
Oh, okay.
He knew she locked the door behind her, which is important to find out how this person got in. So her friend Crawford leaves, and she is home alone, enjoying a Sunday evening. And she gets a phone call from a maintenance person from Mount Pleasant Retirement Community and says, we need to check on your life alert system. There seems to be a malfunction. And this is where Barbara's kindness and graciousness does not serve her.
Uh-oh.
Daniel French had not worked at the Mount Pleasant Retirement Community for 10 months.
Oh, he used to work there?
Yes, he did.
Oh, okay.
And used the ruse of him being a maintenance worker to get into her place.
Oh, geez.
He attacks her with a stun gun, and she doesn't go down easily. At the age of 87, she's a fighter.
Okay.
He chokes her.
Oh, God.
And his excuse is that I did not want to kill her. I just wanted her to black out.
Oh, jeez.
But I have a hard time believing that when you hear what he does after. He leaves her home after he has attacked her several ways, puts her in the crawl space under her home. He leaves with $18 and her 3-carat wedding ring from her deceased husband, which is her most prized possession.
Oh my gosh. Well, 3-carat diamond ain't no slouch of a stone.
But $18.
Yeah.
And a 3-carat diamond, is that worth the life
No, absolutely not.
Right.
No.
So this is what Daniel French leaves with. He has put her in the crawl space of her home. He has stripped her naked and left her in the crawl space. Now, here's where I have a problem with everything he's done. He comes back the next day and slits her throat.
Oh, jeez.
He comes back because he said, I thought she was dead.
And she was not dead?
No.
She was stuffed in the crawl space. He beat her up, stuffed her in the crawl space, and left. Oh, my God.
He takes her, attempts to redress her somewhat. She has pants pulled up to her knees, and that's as far as it goes.
Oh, boy.
Puts her in the trunk of her red Cadillac CTS, cuts her hair, her beautiful, beautiful hair, by the way, pours bug repellent, peroxide on top of her body. And the last layer is the contents of a vacuum bag.
What?
Right.
Why?
I don't know. You would think, the chemicals would be, maybe he would think he would dissolve her body. None of those things did anything.
Sure, of course not.
He drives her to a different apartment complex in Middletown, Ohio. Middletown is not that far from Monroe. So she's in the trunk of her car for 3 days. Her family starts to worry when they cannot get a hold of her. And by November 1st, 3 days later, her car is found in this apartment complex. They open the trunk. She is found face down with her pants pulled down to her knees, which they find out later were put back on.
Okay.
After he had taken her clothes off. Maybe he was trying to make it look like a rape. I don't know. Sexual assault. Her pants are pulled down to her knees and her throat is slit, according to the detective, ear to ear.
Jeez.
Her 3+ carat wedding ring given to her by her deceased husband is missing. And here is what's really interesting. And they probably would have figured this out, but this is one of those beautiful things that it's like, well, even though it takes 2 years to arrest him, which is interesting also, they know who they're looking for right away. When she is missing, they put out news, reports that this beautiful 87-year-old woman is missing from her home along with her car. And they get a tip from Phyllis McDaniel. She was also a resident at Mount Pleasant. And she says the night before, on Saturday, October 27th of 2012, she received a call from someone who said he was with the maintenance department of Mount Pleasant and that he needed to come and work on her alarm because it wasn't connecting. And she said, no, that's all right. I'll be all right. She could have been the victim.
Wow.
She said no. Barbara Howe, being a gracious, accommodating human being, was like, oh, please come in and check my system.
Jeez.
And that's what happens to her. So they find evidence later on at Daniel French's residence that he has ripped out the phone numbers and names of residents. And, he was going to go down the list, I guess, till he found.
Jeez.
Yeah. So they find that later on. But to know that Barbara's residence had received a phone call from that same number that Phyllis had received the night before, with that ruse,
Right.
they're able to really narrow it down.
Okay.
So they figure out that it's Daniel French, and he has done some very strange things. He had left the job at Mount Pleasant about 10 months earlier for what was listed as medical issues.
Okay.
He had, I guess, a heart attack and was suffering from depression, and he left his job, but we'll find out later his employers, apparently did not have a problem with him, but he had many, many, many problems. So Daniel French, for 2 years, is the only suspect. And the police have, the detectives have branched out trying to find anyone else. They had tried to nail him down. He was living on the street. He had started to give away all of his possessions. And he ends up showing up on his sister's door. Her name is Wanda Allen, and she lives in Berea, Kentucky. And Berea is a beautiful area. I think there's a college there. It's also kind of the home of the Shakers. There's like a Shaker village, religious, order. Berea is a beautiful, beautiful area. And his sister lives there, and he shows up, and she said, I was so happy to have another adult to talk to. I knew Danny, was suffering some depression, but I always knew him as the fun-loving, good-natured jokester. He had a two-way radio in a tree to try and convince one of my sons that chickens were talking to him. She had tripped over one of her dogs and broken her leg, and he took care of her when she had a broken leg. She knows that at one point she'd fallen asleep on a couch, and he had covered her with a blanket before he had left. She just thinks of him as her, sweet brother.
Right.
And they were a big, big family, like I think 9 kids, and lived in Hamilton, Ohio. So he'd, worked as this maintenance person at Mount Pleasant, and he had left his job, had this health issues, and moves in with his sister. And it's like a very beautiful rural area in Berea. And she said, I'm having a hard time seeing, even when detectives told me what they suspected him of, I'm having a hard time believing this. There's the Danny I know, and then there's someone else who I don't know who this is. She said that detectives told her after he was arrested in her home in 2014 that she didn't believe what they were talking about, and she did not believe he had confessed. So she goes to see him in jail where he's being held, and she said, he said to her, I just need it to be over with. Her ghost has talked to me.
Okay.
So he probably has mental issues. I also don't fucking care. I don't think you plan things and execute them that way, without, if you're crazy, you're going to do something like start stabbing people in the middle of the street. If you plan things and your first attempt fails,
and you keep going.
Yeah. You have the opportunity to say, well, you know what? It didn't work, and I need to reevaluate who I am as a person.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do kind of love the fact that he believes that Barbara Howe came to him. I do believe that. There's there's very, very interesting video of detectives. They interviewed him twice over the 2 years between the 2012 and 2014 before they could actually arrest him. Interviewed him twice. And he, was very closed off, had his arms folded over him. He looked extremely disheveled, big, long kind of Santa Claus beard. He was not doing well at all, physically or mentally. In these interviews, the videos are very haunting. It's I don't know if it's in Berea or where they're interviewing him, but the interview room is very kind of dark and weirdly shadowed. And the videos are very, very interesting seeing him being interviewed, but they just didn't have enough. I mean, they have, they don't have a murder scene. They have where she's found. They check her house several times, and they see nothing out of the ordinary until one smart detective checks the crawl space.
Okay.
And there is a pool of her blood.
Yeah.
So they now know where he did it. His DNA is all over the place. He was a maintenance worker there.
Yeah.
They just didn't have enough to pin him down until a lovely cleaning person said, you know what? I cleaned that crawl space for Miss Barbara months after Daniel French left working at Mount Pleasant. So she had thoroughly cleaned everything after he had left. There's no reason why his DNA would be all over the place.
Yeah, okay.
So they finally have enough to arrest him. They arrest him at his sister's home, and he finally says, yeah, I did it.
Okay, and then he confesses.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just need it to be over with because her ghost is talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that bothers me, and I'm guessing that this is what a defense team would have to do. It's like, the plan was to steal from the residents, not kill her. Why did you have to slit her throat then after you thought, she wouldn't identify you after you have tased her and strangled her and she's not dead yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's charming. What did he think? He's going to tase her and then take her ring and $18 and be like, oh, she'll never remember who it was. Right.
Yeah.
His defense team, I don't get this, and maybe you can explain it to me, Joshua. This bothers me a lot. His defense team says, if he planned on killing her, it was the worst plan ever.
Okay.
The plan was to steal from the residents, not kill her. When he cut her throat, he thought she was already dead. Then why did you need to cut her throat?
Yeah, what? Yeah, that's not a...
I don't get
that's
it.
That's not a good logical... Yeah.
He had apparently a really good defense team. He had, Melinda Cook and another attorney, last name Hawkins. But it's like, this is not... that's not a good... Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
When he went back with a knife.
I thought she was already dead, and I slit her throat, and then she wasn't dead. Then why did you have to slit her throat if you thought she was already dead?
Yeah.
Again, maybe he thought he was going to mislead the motive, like taking her clothes off, slitting her throat. Most robbery, if you're going to be there for a robbery, you're not going to do all that damage. Maybe he thought, I'm going to make it look like a sexual assault or something.
Yeah.
I know. I guess there's no...
Sure. And I'm with you on the, like, he intended to go rob the place originally. Sure. But no, he went back.
Yeah.
He tased her, beat her up. Choked her.
Put her in the crawl space.
And then went back. That's all intentional.
And then put her in her car and then covered her in shit and then drove her somewhere and left her.
No.
I don't get it. I don't get it. So ironically, the first witness for the prosecution is the executive director of the Mount Pleasant retirement community, Stan Capers. And he said, Daniel French was a good worker. He passed all the background checks when he was hired. He left the retirement community for health reasons, is what he said. So he had a back injury and then he'd suffered a heart attack. None of those things, I guess they can say a heart attack can make, they call it the seat of the soul. A lot of people who have basically open heart surgery have a lot of depression.
Oh, okay.
And they don't know, they can't explain it except that you've opened up your sternum and your heart. Yeah. So, if you believe in stuff like that, I get it. A lot of people with heart issues end up with very, very big, deep, dark depression. Having big, deep, dark depression does not mean you're going to go to an 87-year-old woman's house and, Anyway, not good enough for me, Daniel French. Sorry, not good enough. Apparently after, he did what he did, everyone in his life was like, he just wanted to die. And yet he didn't. Yeah. So he's staying with his sister, Wanda. Police have come and interviewed him twice. His sister is like, oh, I don't know what they're I don't know what they're talking about. They have the wrong person. Just because he worked at the retirement community doesn't mean anything. I mean, this is the guy who, took my daughter to buy a new car hundreds of miles away when no one else would do that. I mean, he is a wonderful family member, and, and it's like, okay. So Barbara's daughter, who kind of picked up the mantle for 2 years and was very present at Daniel French's trial, she suffered not more than her two sisters. They all suffered, but she's the most vocal. And she says, I want Daniel French to suffer like I have.
Yeah.
She found herself stopping herself laughing when she was with friends because she thought, I don't deserve to have fun because my mother's not here.
No.
All I did was worry, and people would see me and think, oh yeah, she's doing really well. But she was not doing well. Mm-hmm. She visited 2 psychics searching for answers. And to the day of the trial, she carried around with her all these documents, handwritten notes, business cards she's gotten from people as witnesses on the case. It was like she was fighting her mother's case herself.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, she really took it on herself. And she says, my mom is the best cook in our family. She was a relentless caregiver. She gave so much of herself. That's the thing that brought her joy. And she passed this on to her kids. And her daughter, who was 58 when her mother died, said, no matter how old I got, I always felt like a little girl around her. She said, my memory, all of the good memories of my mother is tainted by the image of her naked body crumpled up in the back of her car, her throat slit several times, and she's doused in chemicals. The Judge Charles Pater, said, I'm not going to let the prosecutors show that picture during the trial because it haunts the family. And she says, her daughter says, it happened this way, but it's gotten worse since she died. Nobody wants to get together anymore because she was our common thread. She was the linchpin. And we want people to remember her as the amazing woman she was and not how she died.
Yeah.
It's hard when something is so shocking that, how are people going to remember? How are people going to remember you?
Right.
Hopefully you remember all of the good things she did in 87 years of her life, the life that she lived, that she loved and enjoyed, her daughters, not what happened one over 24 hours, 2 days of a misguided, selfish, crazy person. I mean, I don't even know. The fact that he says, I don't know why. He says in this interview with the detective, why, I don't know.
Yeah.
He said, I would like to have a lobotomy because I don't want to remember this.
Wow.
Yeah, well, too bad.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm. He said, I just don't want to think anymore. He said, this is terrible. I know it's terrible. Maybe I'm a monster, but I never planned it like that. Okay. Yeah. I love that his sister said, I really couldn't tell that he was unhappy. Really? You couldn't? He comes and says, I want to live with you. I've been living on the streets. I have a beard that's like down to my navel. I've given away all my possessions. Dead woman's ghost talks to me.
Right.
Is that like happy-go-lucky?
He's fine.
Yeah,
He's
it's
fine.
like typical Tuesday. Danny. Danny's all crazy again. Wow. Yeah. Barbara's church secretary said, she always brightened my day. I'm going to miss her until my dying breath. Ugh. I mean, the detectives find that church bulletin that her friend Crawford brought over still on her kitchen counter.
No.
Yeah. Daniel French's younger brother, Kenny, said, Danny was my best friend, and I feel like I knew him better than anyone else. I still don't understand why he did this, and I might never know. Danny had not done well in school, but when he got out, he got a GED. He, worked for a long time at different retirement communities. I can't explain why he did this, and he says he cannot explain it to me except that it was never planned. His brother Kenny says, I'm angry. He should never have done this. And Danny deserves what he gets. And believe me, I'm sorry to say that.
Oh, wow.
When speaking with the police before his arrest in those 2 long interviews, Daniel French said, the reason I didn't kill myself is because I would worry that it would affect my son. So his son lives in Indiana, and the Inquirer, which is where I got some of this great information, they'd gone to the home and knocked on the door, but they wouldn't answer. So, one family is without their beloved family member, and one family doesn't have answers.
Yeah.
It's the ripple effect. Nobody comes out, unscathed.
No, absolutely.
And it's so sad that his brother Kenny says, Barbara Howe isn't the only person that died that day. My brother Danny did too.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the truth. He was sentenced to, the death penalty, but I don't even know if they do that in Kentucky anymore. They may have overturned it.
Oh, he was sentenced to the death penalty, but then he's just,
I think
which basically means life.
20 more years or something.
Now.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. If they ever get around to do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
He was sentenced to life or death or both.
Okay.
I don't know that that's enough. I mean, I know that sounds terrible. I don't want anyone to be murdered, but I don't know. What do you do, to make up for doing something so terrible? And you know what? I guess it doesn't matter.
You can't.
You can't. It doesn't matter if he knew why he did it or doesn't know why he did it,
Yeah, no.
I guess it doesn't matter.
No.
I'm thinking it matters. You need to provide us answers.
Yeah, for our closure and the family's closure, but
he can't.
It's not
even his family's closure.
And his family's closure. But even if he did have an answer, I don't know that
there
it would
wouldn't be
enough.
a good enough. Yeah. I mean, going to such great lengths that did nothing to cover his tracks. It almost feels, instead of him hiding her being something he could do to throw people off, it almost felt like he did things in such a way that he wanted to get caught.
Right? Like it's half and like
half hiding and half out there.
Like trying not just which kind of does point to that he didn't really intend to do it. But
I think he just didn't intend to get caught.
Yeah.
He didn't want to get caught, but maybe he intended.
Yeah. Like kind of went back and forth.
Right.
Yeah.
I can tell you one thing. If Barbara Howe's ghost, haunted him, I'm grateful for that.
Well, for him, but not for her piece.
No, of course not.
No,
of course not. You're right. I would just like something very, very uncomfortable to have happened to him.
Yeah.
And whether it's his own mind creating Barbara Howe visiting him,
sure,
or whether she really did. And maybe she didn't come to him in an angry way, but maybe came to him and said, it's okay. Maybe you could confess, or maybe you don't, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't even care how Barbara came to him if she did. If she did, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And even if he conjured her in his own mind, I'm grateful for that. He needs to be tortured. That's terrible. I shouldn't say that, but I'm going to say that. He needs to be haunted by his choices.
Yeah. I mean, it is so tough. Like,
yeah. I've changed my mind on the death penalty, and it took a long time to get there. But, I don't think killing someone who's killed someone is the answer. It makes you angry when you remember that you are housing, feeding, clothing people who've taken someone else's life.
Right.
But I don't have an answer. I don't have a solution. It's the best one we have for now.
Sure.
But I'm not going to be mad if Barbara visited him, or if he invented Barbara visiting him in his mind.
Sure.
That doesn't bother me. That,
exactly. Or if it's some other demons that are coming and he sees them as Barbara.
Right.
Like,
right.
that.
Yeah. hearing Barbara's daughter, I get it. I totally get it when she says, I want him to suffer like we suffered. I get that. It doesn't make anything any better. It doesn't make anything any easier. And it doesn't do anything good for her. But you understand why she feels that way.
Yeah.
Can you imagine your 87-year-old mother is active and social and lives a wonderful life, has her own little place in a retirement community where you think she'll be safe?
Yeah, no.
And it's not like she dies of a heart attack one day on the floor. She is tortured over an extended period of time and shoved in the trunk of her own car and driven somewhere. I mean, I understand Barbara's daughter. I understand. So yeah, at least he's off the street, and that's one good thing.
Yeah.
And Phyllis was not his first victim.
God, how scary is that?
To find out that you just offhandedly make a choice, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it later.
Right.
That saved your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty big. And to know that he was, vetted and did a wonderful job according to his employers. And then 10 months later, he snaps. Yeah. Well, that's the story of Barbara Howe. And I am so sorry that it happened, but I am very grateful to Allison for telling me the story because I had not heard of it. And it's not like it's some wonderful cautionary tale, but if somebody says they want to get into your home to fix something, maybe you answer the door with your own weapon.
Right.
Or have someone else there with you.
Yeah, no, check it out. I'll call the maintenance outgoing, call them back and I'll set the appointment myself.
Let me confirm this that's a good plan. See, that's why you're the smart one.
Yeah.
You're not only smart, you're pretty.
Well, thank you.
And happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
So if you have a tip on a missing person or unsolved homicide or just want to suggest a case that you'd like us to cover, you can give us a call at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. You can email us at jttipsters@gmail.com. You can find us on any of the social media platforms, just the Tipsters Facebook page, at JT Tipsters on Instagram, at JT Tipsters Pod on Twitter, and more cowbell.
If you would like to support this podcast and get early access and other cool murderous swag, go to patreon.com/justthetipsters.